It might be too late. I forgot to do the gram. I wonder if I can do the gram now. We're going to try.
You've been able to in the past.
So, all right. So bear with me. It's going to take me just a little extra time today. So you're going to have to,
Yeah.
you're going to have to entertain the masses.
Oh boy, Masha. I had. I'll start with this. I've got the shirts that I brought you. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, I brought you shirts, at camp, and
Yeah.
they're still in my vehicle. I never gave them to you. So anyway, this is one of them, I believe. This is like it's got like a I don't see, can you see like it's kind of like an argyle print? You see that?
I see that.
But
Yeah.
look, there we go.
Let's go.
Mobilized
I
Church
like it.
Network.
I
So I got
like
this
it.
one here. Actually, I walked out, and this is the first time I've ever worn it. And I walked out, and see it. Look, it's got a little shoulder
Let's
deal.
go.
I walked out, and Stephanie said, "Oh, I like that shirt," and it has button down collar.
Come on now.
So this one and the other one's a Hickey Freeman. So I got both of these for you.
Hickey Freeman.
Isn't that
Can't
hilarious?
beat a good old Hickey Freeman.
I mean, Hickey Freeman suits, do they? Okay, hickeyfreeman.com. See, I pulled it up and it's just young, cool looking dudes with very, I mean, there it is. No wonder she got it for us. Young looking, cool looking dudes. So it's got like these really cool, like they're like modern versions of sort of classic throwback looks,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's not bad. I mean, their suits are, yeah. It's not bad. Suits are in the 600 range.
Come on, Graham. Go live. Tell it, Ken. Go live, Graham.
Hey, Graham, go.
It's not wanting to do it, so I might have missed. You missed
the window?
I might have missed the moment. So, all right. And the other thing that I did was, man, I've been running around trying to print 1,000 things today and whatever. So, it did update it. Very cool. I updated the title late. But it actually looks like, Ken, it went in there and updated the title for me, and I didn't have to do anything with it. So,
wow.
How about that? All right. So now I can go do the share thing, go do the share thing.
100.
Okay, so let me go do that.
Hey, you know what's so funny is when you go to the Hickey Freeman website and hit shop now, it sends you straight to Dillard's. I wonder if Dillard's bought out Hickey Freeman.
What? Interesting.
Yeah, Hickey Freeman has their own website, and it says like distinctive American style established in 1899, blah 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 blah, and but then it says shop now, and you click on it, you go straight to the Dillard's website.
Interesting. Why does it do that? Oh, man, I don't know where it's shared to now. Doggone it.
Oh, boy.
Well, you know what? Hey, if it goes twice, it goes twice, right?
This is our first podcast, folks. We're just working to figure all this podcasting stuff out.
Fight Club. It's just, yeah, I'm a little scattered today. So just bear with me. So I went to scroll up, and it decided to just reset everything and whatever. Okay. So should be good. Let me go to X. Let me go to X, and I'll just add a little something on there, right?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So I'll do that, and then we should be good to my
my new favorite. I'm just going to show you here. Okay.
Okay.
My new favorite um, golf shirts. Can I show you?
Yeah. Give me just a second.
No, no, no. That's okay. I'm gonna
Show the people.
yeah.
Show all
Let's
the peoples.
yeah. I'm gonna put it in the I'll put this particular one because this has got the USA colors. This is so cool, and it's got the flag in the back. I'm gonna put this in the chat
Do it.
just because it's so cool. Look at Michael Merkel. So the the company is Roback,
Rollback.
RHOBACK.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Doc. This is amazing.
That's awesome. That is so cool. All right. I am just about
It's just
done.
like that.
Let me try this one more time. Let me save that bad boy. And I should be able to. Okay. All right. Okay. I think we're out there. I think we got things rolling now.
All right.
So my apologies. My apologies to the accounts that I just shared it twice onto those accounts. My
Huh.
apologies. The link won't work, Ken. You're
You
getting some
know,
feedback. What
I
happened?
don't know what to I don't know. I don't know. I clicked on I put it on there and I said show it, but I can't.
Oh yeah, I see. So you're gonna have to go. It's on YouTube. So let's try YouTube. Let's see what it happens. Okay, so on YouTube, that first one worked.
Did it? So you
And this
can't.
the first one did work. It takes you to
Okay.
their website, Spacious Skies Heather Stripe.
Oh, bro. And then the back of the shirt, look at it. It's got on the back of the shirt the American
Yeah, the
flag and
flag.
how cool is that shirt, man?
That's very patriotic.
they're
Very
very
patriotic.
they're they're the kind of shirts, they're the kind of golf shirts that are they're they're the material that's super breathable and they wick the moisture, but they're not that super thin stuff that makes it feel like people could see the through your shirt like your chest hair if you've got some. If you have chest hair.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. All right. So, hey, today's going to be a good one, bro. People need to they
Let's
need
go.
to they need to share.
Like, share, and subscribe.
That's what they say. That's what the official
They
podcaster people say.
they need to do all of that stuff.
You got any shenanigans you want to share in our pre-show?
Bro, I am blankety blank today.
Well, don't cuss about it. Don't to
I
cuss.
am I am blankety blank, man. I went and I went, I wasn't feeling good on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, it really kind of hit me hard. And then I didn't go to camp Thursday night. Friday, I woke up, they prayed for me. I felt so much better. Sunday, we went and played pickleball for 3 hours and I sweat so bad, like there wasn't anything dry on me.
Mm.
And and I got home and I had a really bad headache and I'm like, man, I pushed it too hard. I played probably 8 games and just oof.
It's a lot.
And
That is a
I know.
lot.
And we were playing with some really good players. And so it wasn't like you're just standing at the net, kind of like ding, 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 ding. It was like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, and man, I woke up yesterday. I'm like, oh man, I don't feel good. So then last night we went to go get the church van. Thank you to Pastor Robert Linder in Reynoldsburg that let us leave our church van there for 2 weeks. So I was with Rob DeBoard. We were headed over to get the church van. We had a trailer. We were going to load it up and bring it home because a semi tire blew in front of our
Oh,
Scott. Yeah,
no.
Scott was driving, and he said all of a sudden, boom, the semi tire blew, and the shrapnel, tire shrapnel from the tire explosion
Shooey.
went up underneath, and he said, and all of a sudden everything just went boosh, and it was gone.
Holy
He
cow.
pulled over alongside the road on 70. So we towed it over there. We went last night. So Rob and I said, all right, let's look and see if the possibility is that it severed like a fuel line. So he got underneath and he went from the fuel tank all the way up. And he's like, there's nothing, there's no problem here. And I said, okay. I said, is there, I said, how about the fuel pump? Is there like a wire or something to the fuel pump? Because it was cranking. But it went.
Yeah.
He said, the only thing I saw when I was under there, he took a picture and it was a braided copper wire strap. And Gary Gothier, for real, bro, he said chest hair is overrated. And that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah. I mean, here's the deal. Real men have bare chests, gorillas have chest hair. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, so there was a braided copper wire underneath and it was broken. And he said it's like a looks like a grounding wire. So he said, I'll hold it together and you go start it. And so I texted everybody. There's a shenanigan, I guess. So I texted everybody in the group, and like our family and his wife was in there. And I said, Rob held this together with his fingers. And I said, the van started and his finger blew off. Well, the sad thing about it is he had an accident many years ago and
Oh,
he's
no.
missing his right finger. So
That's horrible, man.
so Kyle puts in the chat, says, I'm guessing Rob is missing a finger.
That's so
Yeah.
awesome, man. That's so
So
amazing.
so anyway, so we went down to, they didn't have that at the good old local Advanced Auto Parts in Reynoldsburg, but
Yeah.
we got a battery terminal cable and it started up. We drove it home. In fact, we got to hurry up and finish our podcast because it's blocking my wife in.
So we gotta get rolling, get that out of there. So that's some shenanigans. You blew off his finger. That's hilarious.
Yes.
That is hilarious. Randy Brown used to do that stuff all the time with people. One time a lady didn't know he was missing fingers, and he had this so he's a carpenter, and he had some kind of bucket of like something chemical, something or other, whatever. And she didn't know, and he put his hand down in the bucket, and he pulled his hand down. I was like, my finger, and it's like he's missing half of his fingers. Stupid man. He's so dumb. Good old Randy Brown. He always had jokes like that.
Well, I love people who their mindset is, hey, I'll hold this together, which is some kind of an electrical thing.
Yeah.
And you start the car and we'll see. And like,
yeah, I'll start the car. I'm not doing the electrical thing,
together.
man. Bro.
Yeah. It's,
Crazy.
by the way, it's called a braided ground strap is the actual name for it.
Just for
It's
clarification.
Yeah.
Okay,
anybody wants
for
to
all
know,
all the mechanics out there.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael Merkel, my coworker just cut his finger. Oh, I thought he said he cut his finger off cutting lettuce. I was like, dude, my man was seriously going at that lettuce if he cut his finger off.
His boss was like, chop it finer. Chop it finer.
All I can see is, do you remember? Hey, do you remember the Muppets? Sporgen, Sporgen, Borgen, Sporgen. You got the chef going crazy, chopping stuff like crazy.
Yes. Oh man. Hey. Oh golly. I can't even say that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, you ready to rock and roll?
I am.
I think we're ready to go. Let's do it. All right, here we go. Whew. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mobilized Church Podcast. This is Chris Dillingham alongside my big brother Ken Dillingham Jr. the third on this hot and steamy Tuesday, and he's still drinking his coffee.
You know, it's only for the soothing of the vocal cords.
Ah, there you go. There you go.
We've got to keep those golden vocal cords in good shape.
Radio voice for sure. Hey, speaking of which, we're missing our weather report from Ken Bastarkey, chief meteorologist.
Yes.
So why don't you give us a little weather update?
Chief meteorologist Kim Starkey not checking in today, but we have a report from the ticker. Said temperature is currently 80 degrees. It's going to get a steamy, sultry, hot, stinking, go away humidity 88 degrees here today. A little bit of rain in the forecast for the afternoon, rain tomorrow and Thursday. So get it done today, whatever you got to do. Get out there and play a round of golf. Tomorrow's going to be a little wet. Take your umbrella, maybe cool off just a bit.
Shooey, man. Shooey. For sure. It's going to be hot here. And we're back. Had a little hiatus, little golf outing last week and church and camp meeting at the Ohio District. Great camp meeting. It's phenomenal. Right. And then we had a great weekend. We hosted the Section 7 outpouring service, and we had 36 get the Holy Ghost, baptized 3, and several notable miracles.
Awesome,
and
man.
So pretty awesome day. Whoop though, cool. Bro. We had church. We came out of camp. I had church on Sunday morning. I went to the gym. Had church on Sunday night. Crazy day tomorrow or yesterday. Like, it's just been a wild season for sure.
It has been. Well, I mean, at least it wasn't so rough that you had your hiatus, that you got a hiatus hernia. Is that what those are called? I don't think that's what that means.
Hey, the way I played golf last week, it would not have surprised me if that was what was going on. Man, I played some of the worst golf. I played some of the worst golf of my life. It's unbelievable. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So yeah, thank you for noticing, Gary. Gary, I've been hitting the gym hard, bro. Been hitting the gym hard, and just trying to get in shape at 52, bro. You know what I'm saying?
No, hey man, I listen. We had a lot of. We've talked about this, but we had a lot of. We were going to do a health podcast, weren't we? We did a lot of a pretty intensive blood work and some testing, and so we're doing all the AG1 and Row and perfect aminos and creatine and all the stuff.
Berberine, is that what it's called? Berberine?
Berberine, red yeast rice, natural statin reducer, or not natural statin cholesterol reducers, and
all the things,
trying to live to be 100 so that trying to live to be 100 so that we could be effective, or as effective as God has us on this planet. I don't want to be, I heard the story of a great apostle who, spent the last probably 3 years of his life pretty much incapacitated in his home, in his chair, in his bed, just because of physical, ailments that could have been prevented. And so I just we want to be healthy. It's not, we're doing a lot of exercise, a lot of lifting. In fact, it's so funny. I lost 22 pounds, but my belt is getting smaller.
Yeah.
But I've gained 5 back. So
that's the identifying factor right there, right? When your waist size is getting smaller, your pants are fitting better, but you're maybe gaining a little bit of weight, even, putting on some muscle. And so, man, absolutely, bro. And I would encourage, like, we won't do it today, but I would encourage, especially guys over 50. If you're over 50, you need to be hitting the gym or doing something. because it's the energy increase. Like I feel stronger, more energetic today than I felt in probably, man, easily 15 years. So,
Yeah, yeah. Gary
so
said best way to overcome genetic predisposition is live healthy. And you know what's interesting is I was
powerful
listening to
point.
yeah, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and this isn't just some random, I mean, this isn't just a couple of guys that don't know what they're talking about talking about stuff they don't know what they're talking about. This is I'm not saying us. I'm saying, podcasts that could,
Yeah.
but I was listening to the Huberman Lab. So Dr. Andrew Huberman is for those of you that don't know, Dr. Andrew Huberman is um, he's a research neurologist at Stanford. He's a MD ophthalmologist and he's a PhD research neurologist. So, but anyway, he had a guest on, and he was a MD, and he was a researcher on genetic molecular biology. I think it was geneticist. He was and he said that there are certain genetic traits, and he said, but he was talking about your mitochondria, and they were talking about the outer rim of your mitochondria and how they're discovering that there are these molecules that actually turn on and turn off that determine what gets in and what doesn't get into your mitochondria. And he said they're learning that this is where the genetic predisposition sits. But he said, but based upon your lifestyle, your stress factors, those kinds of things, um, that it may or may not turn on, say, for example, a cancer predisposition, or you could have a cancer genetic factor, or you could have Alzheimer genetic factor. You could have that doesn't he said that doesn't mean you're going to get Alzheimer's. That doesn't mean you're going to get
Right.
cancer. He said if you don't do stuff to cause those genetic predispositions to stay turned off,
Yeah.
then you likely won't get it. And so he was really it was a really huge deal. So he's talking about this is why you need to get good sleep. And I mean, like,
Yeah.
even Andrew Huberman was even saying, that's why you need to go outside in the morning, first thing in the morning, and go outside and stand on your deck and look at the sun, not at the sun,
Yeah.
but in the direction of the sun. Get 10 to 15 minutes of light. And it's just, some of those kinds of things. And it's not, it's not just folk science, or, quack doctors talking about some of this stuff. Like, these are some of the,
Legit.
God,
Yeah.
look at
Legit.
Gary
I know.
Guthier.
140 miles he ran last month. That's just ridiculous. I don't know if I've run 140 miles in my life.
I
That's
mean,
crazy, bro.
that's just shy of 5 miles a day.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So that's awesome. Jared Young makes a comment, and we'll move on, but leg strength is correlated to longevity. Man, bro, there's a lot of research out, and it is so true.
Isn't that
Like
weird?
cardiovascular, the
Yep.
insulin resistant stuff,
Yes.
because it's lean muscle and whatever, has the ability, man, major reduction in
Yep.
like type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular stuff. Like, absolutely. That is a huge,
Well,
that's why we're doing what we're doing.
so listen to this. I just told Stephanie yesterday, I saw a video as a PhD. She was a PhD nutritionist, or whatever you call it, nutritional, whatever, and nutritional science PhD.
Yeah.
She was talking about, this is the weirdest thing. She said, if you do 10 body weight squats every 30 minutes, 10 body weight squats, just your body weight,
Yeah.
every 30 minutes for 8 hours in the day, it will regulate your glucose levels in your body long term better than a 30-minute walk.
Holy cow. That's
But it
crazy.
has to do with consistency throughout the day. And also, that's that leg strength thing, lean muscle, the whole, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's
So
the
good.
biggest muscle, really the biggest muscles in your body, from your
Right.
glutes to your thighs. It's,
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's make a shift. Let's make a shift from physical health to spiritual and emotional health today.
Bro.
How about that? You see that? See that transition? Just seamless, a seamless transition right into the topic today.
Yes, you are a shifty guy.
Trained professional.
Yes, you are.
Podcasting school has definitely paid off. I wonder if that's a topic at Bible college. No?
I don't know. If it isn't, they need to call us. We'll help them.
Listen, we'll be more than happy to come and be a what do you call it? Adjunct professor?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we'll be.
The junkie professor.
For real, for real. All right, so we got a good one today. And so the last couple of months we'd kind of gone through a
Yeah.
series of topics. It's more like a series that we did with a bunch of different things about
Yeah.
forgiveness and
Kind of like
we had
this, but still a little bit of that.
correct. And there were several different topics that we did. And both of us felt like uh the one we did about forgiveness and some of that kind of stuff, man, just really both of us felt like some things really resonated, but we didn't have the opportunity and the time to really kind of dig into some things like we really wanted to. Both of us felt that like, man, we really need to circle back and
True.
revisit that. So that's what we want to do today, especially in light of a lot of the things that we're seeing in the world today. Of course, the idea and the concept of church hurt has become kind of a viral term. And, there's all kinds of uh, social media accounts and all these different things talking about all this kind of stuff. And so we're not again, I think you closed last time talking about like we're not digging into any of that kind of stuff. This is not a statement about,
Right.
anything that's church hurt
Right.
related necessarily. But what we want to
Right.
focus on today, what we talk about today is
Stay in the scripture, right? Stay in the scripture. And we're talking about scriptural, spiritual, biblical concepts, not
yeah, we're not
making,
addressing a topic of
yeah.
what somebody did or how a certain thing was handled in the organization like
Right.
that. That has nothing to do with anything we're
Right.
talking about today. Here's the reality. If you deal with people for any amount of time, and you're going to, if you have any close relationships, at some point, you're going to get offended. At some point, you're going to get wounded by people. It's just the reality of our world today. And so what we want to talk about today is I'm going to give the title and I'm going to give you the credit on this one because you're the one that came up with this title. And I think it's so good. We're going to talk about bitterness, the flavor of a wounded spirit,
My Lord, bro.
the flavor of a wounded spirit. And so I want you to get us kicked off today. And let's kind of talk about what maybe a little bit of a recap because we kind of delved into it a little bit last time. But let's go a little bit deeper and let's talk about what bitterness is, how to recognize it. We're gonna talk about how we can get healing from that wound or whatever. But so let's talk about what is bitterness. Why
Yeah.
is it that sometimes people seems like they have the ability to kind of get over things and move on or whatever, but sometimes there's things that you just can't move on from, you can't get
hmm
over, and
hmm
and you hold on to that. So let's talk about how does bitterness start? What is it? And then we'll get into what we need to do with it.
hmm Well, I think that as we begin to discuss the topic of bitterness, I think it's important to probably situate that word
Yeah.
as sort of a catch basin for a lot of things that come together to form like that end result.
Yeah.
It's the reason why I like the phrase bitterness is the flavor of a wounded spirit. The reason why I like, or an offended spirit, the reason why I like that phrase is because it kind of goes along with this idea that it's the fruit of something.
Oh
We
yeah.
talk about right? We talk about the fruit of the spirit. Like if you think about, it kind of helps our brain sometimes when we are able to do associations. So like you say, what's What's the flavor of an apple? It's a fruit. What's the flavor of a peach? Everybody knows. All the fruit has a flavor. And and I think that it's important for us to, to really think through this and think down this road, because the the when you associate a flavor to something, you're like, oh yeah, like its flavor is one of the most identifiable characteristics.
Sure.
Like, we don't predominantly think of apples as in their technical, size dimensions and shapes and so on and so forth. I mean, I mean, you differentiate a banana from a, from a peach, obviously in shape and whatever. And there's the color and texture. There's all those things. But predominantly at the end of the day, because it's something we eat, it's food. It's something that somebody can take and, taste it and whatever. I think that when we talk about these kinds of things and we talk about the fruit of the spirit, like, what is the flavor of joy? Like,
Yeah.
what is the flavor of long suffering? Like, you'd think it's it's soothing, or
Sure.
and so when we think about these kinds of things, in fact, I read something, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago, and this author was talking about how that the fruit of the spirit is something that we can give to others. I was thinking about this even after you texted me this morning. The fruit of the spirit is something that we can give to others, that
Yeah.
they can get a taste of the kingdom.
Mm. Yeah.
That it is the fruit of the spirit that introduces people to the kingdom. And so that when we bear the fruit of the spirit in our life, there's sort of a flavor, there's a flavor to our life, there's a, whatever. And so when we think of bitterness, it is a flavor. It's really weird. It's a condition, it's an emotional state, it's a mental state, it's all of these things. But at the end of the day, if you say, what is bitter? What is something when it's bitter? The predominant thing that somebody would think is that there's a flavor associated. There's a flavor. And so when we talk about bitterness, I think that we need to say, okay, this is a catch basin where a lot of things come together and it begins to distill down inside our spirit, lest any root of bitterness. And what's interesting is a lot of there's a lot of root foods and roots that
Yeah.
their flavor is bitter.
Yeah.
And so the root of bitterness springing up, watch, and thereby many are defiled. How are they defiled? When a root springs up, what does it do? That root springs up and it becomes a plant, and that plant bears fruit, and the fruit is eaten by someone else. Lest any root of bitterness springing up, and thereby many are defiled. How are they defiled? When you have bitterness in your soul and in your spirit, eventually you will feed that fruit to others, and the flavor of that bitterness will actually begin to infect the person that that
Wow.
you've given that fruit to.
Wow, man, that's so good. And I think it's important to acknowledge, and the reason I started the way I did is because, we do everything in our world to try to guard and protect
Uh-huh.
ourselves and whatever. And, there's a lot of people that keep people at an arm's length distance, or they won't build relationships or whatever, thinking that they can protect themselves. And so, I think one of the things I think it's important to acknowledge from the beginning is we're not minimizing the effect of the wound,
No, 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 no,
right?
no.
We
Right.
okay, so there are obviously some moments and some times
Thank
where
you.
people, because of their jaded perspective or because of their experience of their past, they might view things through a certain
Hmm.
lens,
Hmm.
right? I
Yeah.
always use my glasses because I've got progressive lenses, and
Yeah.
you everybody I'm sure has done the trade your glasses around and see if you can see
Yeah.
through somebody else's lenses. We did it the other day, and
Yeah.
like I could see certain things through yours, and then other things not so
We
well,
did
or
it,
whatever.
bro. We did it with my sunglasses.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And and so, but to you, it looks perfectly normal. It looks perfectly fine. And so sometimes we view
Mhm.
things through a certain lens.
Well,
And
a
so
lens, by the way, a lens is a bias that adjusts for some inadequacy in,
absolutely.
yeah.
And your famous line that I've used, I literally have used this. This is not even close to an exaggeration, thousands of times, but we see things not as they are, we see things as we are.
100%.
A- And so a lot of times what happens is people view things through the lens of their experience. You know, you have a family that comes from a home where everything is loud and boisterous. And
Yeah.
so, you know, that's their normal. They think everybody,
Yeah.
and so when there's quiet, they feel weird. You come from a family that is quiet and subdued, and you go to a family that's loud, you think everybody's arguing and fighting. So we all have lenses. We all have those predetermined bias
Mhm. Mhm.
that that affect the way we view certain things.
Mhm. Mhm.
So there are times and there are places where we view things
Mhm.
that are not
Mhm. Mhm.
really justifiable reasons for
Mhm.
being wounded or offended.
Mhm.
But there are times that things that happen in life where
Mhm.
people do us wrong, they say things about us, they mistreat us, like it's unfair, like all of those kinds of things. There are moments and there are times where that happens,
Yeah.
and that wound becomes the seed
Right.
that then produces the bitterness in us. If you
Yeah.
don't deal with the seed, then what it's going to do is it's going to produce the fruit, which is what is the fruit? It's the fruit. It's like grapefruit, bitterness like grapefruit. It's got that bitter flavor, and it's going to affect everything that you do. And we've all been in contact with people that just being
Yeah.
around them is like, you know, it's like eating grapefruit all the time. You're like, Jesus, have mercy. They just
Yeah.
drain my soul because everything is negative and everybody's wrong and everybody, you know what I'm saying? Like you
Yeah.
can see that fruit being produced in them. So I think it's important, Ken. There has to be some self-awareness as a disciple of Jesus. There
Yeah.
has to be self-awareness in us to identify places where maybe this is just my you know, I can't remember how you said that, but like our lens that we see the world through makes us think that somebody did something or something happened to us, or is this a real situation that really happened? Either way, you've got to deal with it, and we've got to address that so that that seed doesn't produce the fruit of bitterness.
Boy, that's just right on, man. And that, I think, as you describe that and as you explain that, I think that's where we are. Um, yeah, I think that's where where we're headed with that idea too of that bitterness is sort of a catch basin where, or the bowl where
Yeah,
all of these factors sort of come together and there's a result. There's a it comes together. The outcome is bitterness. And so, like you're saying, I think, and by the way, it could be, there's a lot of things that affect our lens when we say, you don't see things as they are. We don't see things as they are. We see things as we are.
yeah,
I think one of the best examples of that is, as we were talking, I think maybe last week or the week before, we were talking about assuming motive.
yeah, yeah,
And, and
absolutely.
right. And I think that, um, it could be that those things, those predispositions, that lens, it could be, um, sort of the nurturing of that perspective, sort of a perspective of, well, be careful for people. You can't trust them and you never know what they're up to and,
Sure.
whatever. You may be raised in that kind of environment. I think also it can be seasonal. And I think this is the thing. I think this is the thing that we need to be aware of as well when we start thinking about how that some of this can be, the result of the enemy exploiting our tendencies and weaknesses.
Sure. Absolutely.
But I also think we need to be aware that the Bible talks about that the scripture talks about there's a time. Um, there's the word chronos, which is the ticking away of time, second by second, minute by minute. That's chronos. But there's also the word kairos, which means the time that is the right time, the time that something should be done or whatever. And I think, like for example, when Jesus was in the wilderness and the Bible said after 40 days he was hungry and the devil came to him. He didn't come to him for 40 days. When did he come? He came at that right time when he was at his weakest. And
Yeah.
I think we need to recognize that sometimes even in that framework that we could go through seasons where the enemy just lays some things out and we get worn out and we get weary and we get frustrated and it's just the little thing after little thing after little thing that begins to sort of frame, maybe even jade us in ways that, and everybody knows, Chris, you talk to people who are, in talking to people, and they're saying about their spouse or their children, or they're like, I don't know what's going on. It's not like them. They're just acting so strange. And it's like uncharacteristic. And I think the enemy could allow us to go through seasons, to have a season of attack, or there's a specific season where things are just coming from every direction. And then one thing happens. And where we would normally just, you
Mm-hmm.
know what,
Mm.
just
Right.
give grace to it and just say, you know what, they're probably just, we all do dumb things and, whatever. But all of a sudden becomes this thing that they just can't let go of. And that, I think, is, you know, it's like, we started talking about the physical. And if your body's immune system is doing well, you can accept, and it's actually good for your immunity. You can accept a certain amount of viral load without getting sick.
Yeah.
You can get a cut on your skin and with not
You
with,
have stuff in you. You have stuff in you right now that you don't even know is there, but
right.
you're able to manage it.
Yep. So those wounds, in another season or at another time or whatever, those wounds could be healed, but because of a certain time frame or a certain season or certain conditions, well, for some reason that wound just doesn't heal. And I think that's the thing, Chris, as we start really working through this idea that, it begins with a wound. It's a betrayal, it's a disappointment, it's some kind of abuse or unmet expectation or whatever. Any of those things can be wounds. But
Sure.
then what happens is the wound by itself is, I think that what the enemy wants to do and what sometimes is dangerous to us is when the wound, the pain management of the wound becomes a discernible offense.
Right.
It's something, there's almost a feeling to it. Just like a wound. The problem with the wound isn't the fact that you could get infected and get gangrene and whatever, but also there's pain associated with it.
Yeah.
And so there's a wound, but then there's a pain associated with it. And that is that feeling, that emotion, that offense, which is the response to the injustice, or it is the pain that is experienced. I think offense is actually the pain that is experienced that makes you emote about the wound and the person who wounded you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then when that offense lingers like a wound, when it gets unresolved,
Yep.
then the byproduct is going to be bitterness. And Gary Gauthier makes a statement, deception's so subtle and powerful because we never know if we're being deceived unless we pray for revelation to see what is
That's it.
reality versus skewed thinking. And it's so true. Like you can think you're so right. And we've all had conversations with people that you're like, what is wrong with them? Like everybody can see this, but they can't see it, and becomes so real and so true to them. I read this today, Ken. This is just, I think, a powerful statement. And it said bitterness is where unhealed pain and unresolved justice collide. I think that second piece is an important part of the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because obviously, yes, if you don't resolve the wound, then
Mm-hmm.
it produces offense. Offense then is going to produce bitterness, right? So there's some kind of a wound that goes
Mm-hmm.
unhealed, a pain that goes unhealed.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
then there's this also part of what produces the bitterness is we have this idea that somebody's got to pay.
Mm. Right. Justice
And
needs served, or
so
I want them to feel the hurt that I felt.
100%, man. I want them to feel what it did to me. They need to experience this. They need to know, and they need to feel the ramifications of that. And a lot of times, when offense comes, we're the ones that feel it, that sense it, that the wound comes to us. A lot of times people don't even know. They don't even know what's going on. They don't know what's happening. And a lot of times, this is why I think the scripture, be not deceived, God is not mocked, for in due season what a man sows, that shall he also reap. God's not mocked right now when it
Right.
seems like there's no justice happening. But I think what happens a lot of time for a wounded person is
Right. Because he's seeing it.
yeah, yeah, he sees it. He knows
God's
what's
not
going on.
mocked.
It's going to come.
Yeah, you're not doing something where it's like, hey, watch this, like
Yeah,
your parents, you could mock your parents. Uh, you and I could say, hey, like the one time I was telling somebody the other day, the one time that our parents smoked, and the one time we got a cigarette, like an unfinished cigarette out of the ashtray. And
yeah,
we're like, hey, let's go. And we found some matches and we were like, let's smoke a cigarette.
yeah,
Right. And
yeah.
we were thinking, we were mocking our parents' ability to know what we were doing or whatever. And they were like, I mean, but they knew,
They know, right?
God
That's why it
knows he's
says
not mocked.
it doesn't say God will not be mocked. He is not mocked in the present right now. He sees everything that's going on, but in that wounded state, you don't see it. You
Oh,
don't, and there's not immediate justice. And bro, in our world today, like
mhm.
how much are we seeing this? Like if we don't see justice right now, if we don't see that person pay for it right now today, then all of a sudden, it becomes this
Yeah.
like just vitriolic, angst, a person full of angst and anger and frustration and whatever. And I think I mentioned this the other day. Britt Caltharp is the one I heard say it. I know it's
Yeah.
not unique to him, but bitterness is like putting yourself in a prison and saying that'll show them.
Yep.
There's something in us that says we want justice, we demand justice, and it doesn't just work like that. Sometimes it doesn't happen. All right, so talk to us about this.
Okay.
So how can we identify bitterness?
Yeah.
What does that look like in a person?
Okay. Well, flowing from what you just said into, I think the reason why this podcast to me today, this topic, whatever, is so important is because of these outcomes. Like this is what it looks like, right? These are the things, this is the flavor.
Yeah.
What we're getting ready to talk about is this is the flavor. What does it taste like? What is bitterness? I mean, I know our note says what does bitterness look like, but I would almost say what does bitterness taste like, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And 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 the reason why it needs to be resolved biblically is
Yeah.
because you may say I want them to experience the pain I experienced,
Yeah.
but the truth of the matter is we know enough just as humans to know that if a person cut me, if a person, okay, look, let's go back to what we started. We were joking about, having a Randy Brown and his fingers are cut off, or let's say that some horrible person did that to him, and you say, okay, well, what do you want, Randy Brown? Do you want? And Randy's like, I want their fingers cut off at the exact same spots, whatever. I want them to feel and experience what I'm experiencing. But here's the deal. Does that put your
Yeah.
fingers back on?
Yeah.
Does that put your fingers back on? Does that, for that person to be in the same,
Right.
right? And I think if we could think of it in that context, I think then that could allow us to be able to look at it and say, okay, but if that person, and I get it, I'm not saying that, a person, we always think of the exaggerated extreme things. Okay. So people think about probably because because of stupid things like shows like Dateline NBC and all these, whatever these shows are,
Yeah.
it's funny because I went to watch one night and Stephanie's like, I don't watch that stuff. I don't even want that in my brain. But the thing about it is though, is that it's these people that was like, this person did this. And there was I read something not long ago about some deal in Ohio up by Toledo. It was like in Toledo, right on the Lake Erie. And it was some guy, he was a bouncer, and it just, I think it just recently got resolved or whatever, but it was a story about this young lady who went home from a bar,
Mhm.
and she got killed on her way home from, a bar, and they never found the killer. And her daughter said, I'm going to spend the rest of my life to find the killer. Well, the first court trial, I mean, it was like in the 80s. So like
Yeah.
40 years later, bro.
Yeah.
And so like, and um so the first trial he was acquitted because, I mean, this guy was acquitted. Well, because the reason why is because it's, how do you go back and prove something? There's no DNA. There's no, I mean, how do you prove? And the person that was in the car said, yeah, there was a bad door. The door was the we had to climb in from the other side of the car because of, and she, we ran out of curve and she fell out of the car. The person in the car said that. And the girl was so angry and so mad and so upset that this guy
It's a
wasn't,
great
well,
example.
well, my question was, like, how do you know? Do you just want somebody to pay the price for it?
Somebody's got to pay.
Do you want some, what if this guy wasn't the guy? If you've made it up in your mind, you say he's the most likely one, and so because I think he's the most likely one, he was driving the car, and they're like, well, and there was a lot of things like, they were like, well, how did she get this wound on her head? But then there was an expert that came in, and this is what turned the whole case. The expert said, well, the wound is the wound on her head is would be in alignment with someone who fell out of a moving car and hit the back of their head on like a curb or something. And so, but the point was, the girl was so distraught because she was certain that finally, after all these years, her mother's murderer was going to go to jail.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that going to bring it? And I know this is so hard. This is so, and I'm going to speak just so graciously, and I can't even imagine the pain that somebody like that would feel. But for this person,
Yeah.
we think sometimes that well, that resolves it. But you know what? That doesn't bring back all the years that you there. Jesus offers a better way for healing. And so that's why I think this is important today. So maybe
Yeah.
I've
I think
I went
that's
that direction, and maybe you do the
no.
what does it taste like? But
No, and I think that's huge because there's an expectation, like you said, and I've listened to a lot of those datelines, and it's almost always the same, no matter how it ends. It's like, yeah, finally somebody paid, or they're gonna somebody got away with it, and whatever, and it just reveals the systems of this world are inadequate.
yep,
You know what I'm saying? Like, we have a
yep,
great justice system. I say a great justice system. We have innocent until proven guilty. There's a lot of, obviously there are
yeah,
clearly there's a lot of amazing things about our justice
yeah,
system,
and
but
forensic science.
it's not perfect.
No,
It's not a
right,
perfect system.
right,
Things are not perfect,
right.
and sometimes people that are innocent go to jail, and sometimes people that are guilty get off free. Like, that's the world we live in. So if you have a predisposed outcome that is going to be the thing that's going to liberate you, and now you can go on with your life and whatever,
Mm-hmm,
you're going to be disappointed in this world because that's not likely to happen.
mm-hmm.
And so I think, yeah, that's a really good point.
Because
So all right.
Chris, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Because the thing that's so important is that there is, like you said, there is a predisposition. There's a lens in the human family that says this is how the wound gets dealt with. This is how the offense gets dealt with.
Yes.
This is how this is. So if the wound and the offense, like the offense was this, this is
Yeah.
how. And we talk about Eve and how the devil offended by saying, well, God only told you that you couldn't have the fruit because that's how he became God. That's how he got his power. So he's trying to reserve all of that for himself. And now Eve goes, whoa, what do you do with a God you can't trust? And the crazy thing about it is the power of an offense is that it opens a person to deception. And
Yes.
I think it is a deception to think that I can manage the outcome of the offense in ways that resolve it for me. Because Eve's idea was, well, if if God said you can't eat the fruit, and if he, but the devil said if you eat the fruit you'll be gods like him. So if that's the way God became God, and that's the reason why he told us that we can't have that fruit. Why would he tell us all of this stuff? See, it starts making sense, and this is the thing about deception, what Gary said, and those little thoughts that come in your head, because all of a sudden you think, yeah, that doesn't make sense. God's given us all of this stuff, and he says, you can have everything in the garden. I've made it perfect for you. But the one thing you can't have is that tree in the middle of the garden. And all of a sudden in
Shh.
her mind, she might start rationalizing, going,
What did she
why?
do? She assigned motives,
That's what I'm saying. And
right?
as the devil that's exactly right, Chris. And as the devil planted those seeds, and she then took those seeds and ran with it in her mind, all of a sudden she said, here's the only thing that we can do. And she took the fruit, she ate the fruit, her eyes were opened, but it was a damnable thing. It wasn't, she had been lied to, and it was a deception. And the scary thing about it is so often offense opens people up to deception. And we've seen it over and over where the people that are thinking through that deception in their mind seems so reasonable and
Yeah.
it makes so much sense. And so here's the thing,
Yeah.
you better be careful because there is a jadedness. That's why it's called bitterness, because bitterness is a jaded flavor.
Yeah.
And that jaded flavor is the distilling of this jaded thinking that makes its way into everything. And then it's like, oh, then this is, and we're going to get that. And you know what? And and I can't wait till and then people lay at bed at night and think of all the ways that they could get retaliation and all the ways that they could get revenge and all the other. And the thing about it is this is the thing of locking yourself in a prison and saying that'll show them, because
Right.
because so many nights you're laying in bed thinking about that person that hurt you and wounded you and said that stuff to you, and you're laying in bed and you're thinking through all this stuff. They have no clue. They're sleeping like a baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
And bro, and this is the thing, this short temper, this sarcasm, this defensiveness, getting cynical about people or about leadership or about God. These are all things that, like, you better be careful when you start getting into isolation and withdrawing from the community of believers, or you begin to be disconnected from worship or your deep prayer life, and you start feeling like you there's just I just don't feel like praying. I just feel like, and you begin to get obsessive about it and you're thinking it over and over and over. These are all indicators
Yeah.
that bitterness is starting to get a hold of you.
And I'd add one more to that list, and it goes back to what you said last time about scandalon, where, when one of the first indicators I see is when people start
Yeah.
looking and everything is a scandal. Uh, I understand somebody said that, conspiracy theory, that term was introduced by the CIA and whatever to kind of be like a misdirection of people. Like there were some things going on. And so then
Yeah.
they were able to isolate that,
Hmm.
off to this far extreme idea. If you believe this, then it's a conspiracy theory, whatever. But I think a lot of times people get wrapped up and sucked into that because there's unresolved issues that
Hmm.
leads them to believe that everybody and everything is out to get them.
Hmm.
And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it produces that view of that cynical thing. And so then you'll see somebody and everything that they post is negative or
Hmm.
accusatory or coming against somebody or whatever. And so it goes back to, okay, where pain is not healed and there's no justice, right? The line that we said earlier about bitterness
Hmm.
is where unhealed pain and unresolved justice collide.
Hmm.
So what happens a lot of times, people start going on, like you talk about Dateline, they start going on a rampage of like, we've got to get justice, we've got to right the system, we've got to stop the flaws of the system. And again, all of these things in balance
Yeah.
can be fine and can be healthy,
Right.
but you need to be, as a disciple of Jesus, you have to be very, very self-aware when you start to see some of the fruit that you just mentioned, the short temper, sarcasm, cynicism, isolation, disconnectedness, obsessive rehearsing of pain. You
Mm.
start to identify those and see those. As a disciple of Jesus, that ought to be an indicator to us that something is not quite right in our spirit,
Mhm.
and we need to let the Lord come and begin to work on those places and begin to change us. And I think one of the biggest challenges, like you said, and Gary mentioned this about the deception piece and the suggestions, one of the biggest challenges is you can rationalize every single thought. Eve could rationalize why it was okay for her to eat the fruit because, again, she assigned motive to God, right?
Mhm.
At the suggestion of the devil. So,
Mhm.
so, so it's one of the hardest things of getting out of the bitterness is a lack of self-awareness, and we've got to learn how
Mhm.
to get out of that and apply some of the biblical principles and the biblical concepts
Mhm.
of what is forgiveness,
Yeah.
what is real forgiveness look like. I saw somebody, there's this whole deal, I don't know if you saw the deal about, like, the Chip Gaines deal is blowing up right now.
No.
I don't know all the details, something about he invited some gay couples or something and doing this big show and doing it under the banner of, like, listening and loving and all that kind of stuff, and it kind of blew up and all these people are commenting and talking about all this kind of stuff, whatever, right? um so like you can start getting sucked into all of these
Mhm.
kinds of things and
Mhm.
not have, like, self-awareness of what's really
Mhm.
going on. Sometimes
Mhm.
you're not able to see the real issues and the real things are going on. And so he
Or
made a
or
comment
or
there.
let me say, you only know it from
Yeah.
what somebody else is telling
Well,
you about it.
and what Chip Gaines said was, it just infuriates me. He says, doesn't the Bible say, don't judge, and we should love and listen? Don't judge, love, and listen. And I'm like, well, Jesus said, don't judge. But then he said, but when you do judge, do it this way. Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like there has to be the ability. And how do we judge? We deal with the beam in our own eye and not
Yeah.
the speck in somebody else's eye. We judge ourselves the harshest, give the most grace to others. That's really, really hard when you feel like that there's been injustice in your life. You feel like you've been wronged and you may be 100% right. How do you do that?
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing. That's the difficulty, right? I think that's where, really at the end of the day, it all comes down to. I mean, what does, we talk about what does bitterness look like, and we can read that. And here's the crazy thing is that it's funny how the scandalon works, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
funny how the scandalon works because using your example, okay?
Yeah.
So all right. So I don't know Chip and Joanna Gaines' faith. I don't know their faith community. I don't know what they are. I don't know their experience. I know they're, quote unquote people of faith, whatever. But I also know that they've been part of like the HGTV thing. And I know that there's people that have probably that are involved in those kinds of, let's just, I mean, be honest, in the entertainment industry and particularly in, you know, you know, home decorating and I mean, you just have to watch a few of those shows to know there's a lot of people that probably lean a direction of being
Yeah.
very, you
Yeah.
know, effeminate or soft or whatever.
Sure. Sure.
So they probably worked with these people. They probably know them, whatever. So, so here's what happens. So here's how I believe that the devil sometimes jumps out on some of these things.
Okay.
I believe what the enemy does is the person that probably has to be most careful about bitterness right now is Chip and Joanna Gaines.
Yeah.
And I don't even know anything about it just by your just introduction there. I've not seen anything, so I don't know. But what I'm saying is that just what I know from human experience is that the next step, if they don't deal with this right, they will feel a wound by the Christian community. And then the next thing you know, the enemy starts to exploit that. This is that Kairos moment. This is a perfect time for him to now, and he plants a thought and says, isn't it interesting that the most loving and gracious people are not the people that have experienced the most forgiveness and grace from Jesus Christ, but the people that you're talking about. And so then all of a sudden,
one of the comments on X,
uh,
almost verbatim what he said.
he said that.
Almost verbatim.
See,
Now he did it in a like respectful way.
mhm.
So everything was like, hey, I respect your opinion. I understand where you're coming from, whatever. But then there was just that little piece. There was just, you know what I'm saying? There was that
Just that
little
little
piece,
snark.
yeah, of like, the people that should be the most loving. Aren't we
Uh-huh.
supposed to love and listen? And, we don't see that much in the Christian community. And all of a sudden you start casting aspersions about an entire group of people
Yeah.
that's not
Well,
reflective of the truth.
and the question is, why would you do that? And here's why: because you're responding to the wound. What, regardless of what you want to say, that upset you. That, because a wound isn't just sometimes a deep pain. It could be an embarrassment.
Yeah.
Like you could get wounded because somebody embarrassed you. You
Yeah.
could get wounded because somebody,
Yeah.
um, somebody, it could be anger, it could be embarrassment, it could be deep sadness, it could be whatever. And so, yeah, exactly. And so that's the thing where, as we walk through this, I think that what we need to do is, this is what we talk about, being disciples, right?
Yeah.
Not denying the wound. Don't deny the pain, the bitterness, excuse me, the offense. Don't deny the bitterness. Say, Lord, name that. And I think that the first thing you do is you start by you name the wound. I think you start by declaring into in prayer to Jesus, Lord, uh, when this situation happened, when like when they said that, when they when those people, out of only a desire to bring shame and embarrassment, there was no truth in it, but just simply to bring shame and embarrassment, they they wrote that about me, or they said that, or they spray painted it on the wall of a school building,
Yeah.
or they right, and that was the most embarrassing moment of my life, and it hurt, and it was whatever. And so the first step is to name it. What, Lord, that moment, or that relationship, or that thing they said, Lord, it it still stings. It still hurts. And I'm bringing that wound to you because I need you because that wound has become a trap for me. That's
Yeah.
the offense. So I think that's the first thing. You name the wound and you bring it to Jesus.
Yeah. And the hard part, like that, like you just said, we all have examples that we could share of places that were legitimate and that hurt and were, miserable experiences to go through. You've got your character questioned, or people say things that are blatantly a lie, blatantly not true. Ultimately, okay, here's the hard part. In the moment, it's really hard to see this and believe it. But at the end of the day, it actually is a byproduct of unbelief,
Yeah.
because the Bible says
Hmm.
all things work together for good. Clearly, in those moments, it's hard to see how in the world can any good possibly come through from this. How
Hmm.
can anything good come from this? Hopefully, over time, as you serve the Lord, hopefully over time, you've gone through some things and you've seen things that should have destroyed you, should have killed you, should have, destroyed your reputation, whatever. And you've come through it and actually are stronger and better and healthier and more whole. And the reality is this: the antidote is not protecting yourself so much that nothing bad ever happens to you.
Mm.
The reality is, when you go through stuff like that, it gives you a faith perspective that says through it all, God's faithful. Through it all, God's going to bring us through. Through it all, God's going to bring us out of this problem. He's going to somehow turn this into good. And so again, the challenge is in that moment, man, it just doesn't, that, those are things that you don't want to hear. Those are things you don't want to say, because we all want to respond. We all want to react. We want to go. But we've all experienced and we've all seen things that we thought were
Mm-hmm.
going to destroy us. And then you get on the other side of them. You're like, you know what? The Lord some way, somehow turned that into
Mm-hmm.
our good. So
Mm-hmm.
naming that, and then allowing that to process, not through justice, not through, we've got to get revenge, or running it through the lens of some way, somehow God's going to use this for our good. He's going to produce some good out of it. And if you'll do that, then God can take that bitter situation, what could have been bitterness, could have been destruction, and now make you stronger, healthier, more whole, so that the things that happen, because you're going to experience more pain, you're going to experience more disappointment, you're going to have people that let you down, more people it's going to happen. It's just the reality of it. But when you come through it, you're able to process it, deal with it, and let it actually make you stronger and better.
Yeah. And in that process, it's really the process of inviting Jesus to the pain, right? So you pray,
Yeah.
Lord, I've been carrying this in my spirit. I've been bearing the weight of this myself, and I need you to come. And the thing about it is that the problem is something that is spiritual or emotional isn't physically in you anymore. But it's in you, in your memory. It's in your, it's in your mind. It's in your,
Yeah.
whatever. And so I think that you inviting Jesus to come to that place in me, Lord, it's in my memory. It's there. I can remember what it felt like that day 40 years ago, or
Yeah.
50 years ago. I can remember what it felt like walking into that situation, when the entire thing was a setup to bring massive embarrassment and shame. And I remember that feeling, and it's in my memory. And you could say, God, I need you to heal that. And only in the healing of that memory, only in the healing of that can you get freedom from it. And then begin to realize that it wasn't that God made that thing happen. It wasn't that
Yeah.
God made those people do that. When we say God's working all things for good, that doesn't mean, see, this is the thing where we cannot be, we can't be Calvinists here. We cannot be, I hate to, John John MacArthur just
MacArthur.
passed away, as
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Right.
we cannot be Calvinists in this kind of a moment, because Calvinism believes that God is superintending all of the events. It's, there's a reason for it, and God had a reason for it. No, here's the reason. The reason is the works of the flesh, hateful people, mean people, terrible people,
100%.
and they do terrible things. But what does God do? God comes along in the secret places, and as he heals the wound, he comes along and he speaks to you as he's calling you into ministry, as he's calling you to walk away from the things that were your dream for your entire life. And God reminds you, these aren't your people.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is not, these
Absolutely.
aren't your people. This isn't your future. This is, you are, you're called to, and the thing about it is, if you don't, what'll happen is your response could destroy your witness.
Yeah.
It could destroy the Christian witness. So
You
so
mean
what
right?
that means,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
that
Go
means
ahead.
is when you bring Jesus into the pain, the point is that you're forgiving people. You never forgive someone because they deserve it.
Right.
While we were yet sinners, right? The Bible says that we were hostile to God. While we were yet sinners, Jesus died on the cross. Why? Because out of his fullness, he offered to us what we needed. And so Jesus didn't offer forgiveness to us because we deserved it. He offered forgiveness because we needed it. And forgiveness is not because somebody deserves it. Say, well, they don't deserve me to forgive them. No, but you do.
Yeah.
And that's where you say, I had years ago, I had a guy, I'm going to be so vague here, but years ago, I had a guy come to my door and he said, my business is going to shut down. He said, I'm about to lose my business. He said, if I don't have $5,000, I'm going to. And so I asked, you know, long story short, I helped the guy and he used the money in a way that tried to show or demonstrate that I was in favor of this other thing that wasn't even what, like, well, Pastor Dillingham believes in it. Look,
Mm-hmm.
and bro, I'm like, I, I mean, if you're not careful in those kind of moments, you could really,
Absolutely.
mess some things up.
Absolutely.
And so here's the deal. I was in prayer one day and God said, give him the money. Because he said, can I borrow it? So my thought was, I'm gonna go to their house
Yeah.
because there was some serious like like diseases that had come into their family and whatever. And I was gonna go to their house and be like, see, now give me my money and you liar,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But
Yeah.
the reality is the Lord spoke to me in prayer, and here's what He said: I I can give you $5,000 any kind of way. You don't need that $5,000. I could, people are like, oh, you got so much money. You don't know. Here's the deal. No, I don't need $5,000 that will create a wound in me, that creates a bitterness that becomes a perspective that begins to prevail in my life. Release that debt and give them that money. And I believe that this is the thing that as you've named the wound, as you've invited Jesus the pain, you forgive people even when they don't deserve it. He didn't deserve me to cancel that debt.
Yeah.
That's it.
Absolutely.
He didn't, but I did. Okay, but I did. I
There you
canceled the
go.
debt. I did,
Yeah.
and
And
in
you did
fact,
and
I
you didn't it would
verbally.
have destroyed you to hang on to that.
That's the thing. That's the thing. The yeah, that's the thing. It would have been over 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 $5,000, and you're going to work the rest of your life to figure out a way to get retaliation for what?
Yeah.
Well, they maligned my name. They used that to demonstrate something that wasn't even true. Okay, but here's the deal. Jesus said, "Blessed are you when they persecute you and revile you and say all manner of things falsely for my name's sake." You know what? Jesus said, "So persecuted they the prophets that were before." He said, so Jesus said, this was an invitation into Christ likeness. You can either be what humans in their unregenerate state are, or you can let my spirit produce in you what I am out of this.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I just want to recap because I think what you said was so powerful and so good. The kind of the practical steps of really working through bitterness, because the question becomes, do you want to be whole or do you want to be justified?
Right.
Right. And you can be justified and miserable, or you can be whole and healthy and full of
Right.
contentment and peace.
Right.
That's the goal as a disciple of Jesus. One of the dealing with some situations the last couple of weeks, and my scripture has been the Bible commands us endeavoring to keep the unity of spirit and the bond of peace.
That's right.
Right? The bond
That's
is
right.
peace. That's what it should be. So just the practical action steps that you mentioned, and this is why the discipleship piece is so important. A lot of times, because of what you said about isolation, people get
Mm-hmm.
isolated,
Mm-hmm.
and you can self-justify everything, and you need somebody in your life that can speak some things into your life. And so when you name the wound, like, first of all, you have to be self-aware, but you also need somebody that you're walking through this journey with, and that you're talking about these things through, so that they can help you see clearly. Because sometimes we are jaded, our lens is jaded. So you
Mhm.
name the wound, and then you invite Jesus into the pain, and ask him to come and heal this place. So there are some practical steps we need to take, but we also need the spiritual influence of his presence. We need his spirit in
Correct.
our life to come and bring healing. Just like we believe that he can heal cancer, sickness, disease, he can also heal through his spirit those wounded places in us that should have been destructive. Step 3, forgive others when they don't deserve it. And again, I think that's what you said there, such an understated part of this whole journey and process. We don't forgive because they deserve it. We forgive because we're forgiven. Bible clearly teaches that. The parable that Jesus told about the king that forgave
Mhm.
the super insignificant debt, and then the guy that didn't forgive, or a massive debt, and the guy
Massive
that
debt. Yeah.
didn't forgive the insignificant debt.
Right.
We see how the Lord feels about that. So in
Yeah.
comparison, we forgive not because they deserve it, but because we've been forgiven. And what does forgiveness look like? The Spirit of God will lead you in every circumstance. What does forgiveness look like? What do I need to do? It's not just sometimes, Ken, just sitting in your room isolated saying, well, I forgive that person. Sometimes you need to get that off. You need to release that debt. You need to communicate that and share that with
Mhm.
them.
And by the way,
Yeah,
remember, he says, with what measure you meet with all will be measured back to you.
same to you.
God's saying, here's what God's saying. God's saying, if that's the measure you want to use, then that's the measure that will be applied to you. So when he said, if you don't forgive, neither will your heavenly Father forgive, it's not God saying, oh yeah, well, guess what? Well, then I'm not. No, it's not. God's just simply saying, is that the measure you want to use?
Right.
But if the Bible says whatsoever things are bound on earth are bound in heaven, and whatsoever things are loosed on earth is loosed in heaven, what is he saying? He's saying whatever the measure is, whatever whatever it is you're established, the measure is the measure that will be applied to you. What
Yeah.
measure you meet withal will be measured back to you. If you sow
Yeah.
sparingly, you'll reap sparingly. If you sow
Yeah.
bountifully, you'll reap bountifully. If you sow scandalons, you'll
Yeah.
reap scandalons.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And then uh break the agreement with bitterness. Don't let it become your identity. Don't let that become what you're known for or known as, right?
Yep.
You've got to really work to make sure that that doesn't define you. It's not your identity. It's not who you are. And then step 5 is rebuild new habits. And I think, again, this is an important thing. Like, we need the influence of his spirit. God can come and he can miraculously heal us.
Right.
But then he commands us, like the lame man, to pick up your bed and go start your life, start to rebuild your life. And what
Mhm.
happens is, when bitterness becomes so deeply entrenched, it produces a way of living, a way of
Mm.
interacting with people, a way of conduct. Now there needs to be evidence of that transformation that's happening in us, that's revealed in, you know, every aspect, our attitude, the way we deal with people, our prayer life, like all of those kinds of things. So you need discipleship so that you can start to rebuild, a life that's based on the grace and mercy of God, and a perspective that's like, you know what? This should have taken me out, but it
Yeah.
didn't, and it only made me stronger. And appreciation, so a thankfulness. It's really hard to be bitter when you're thankful.
Yeah.
When you understand, what God's done, where he's brought you from, it's really hard to be bitter. But when you've developed that, when you've allowed that to get entrenched, you've got to learn how to now live the way of a disciple. So, man, I think this is so important, Ken, because we have so many that are really just, have been hurt, have been wounded in real ways, and they don't know what to do with it, and then feel like the church is just kind of cliche of, well, like, you just need to get over it. Well, that's not. You don't just need to get over it. You need to disciple it. You need to let Jesus
Mm.
work in that place and be transformed.
Yeah. Yeah. That, I think for me, the last thing I'd like to do, just, I want to read the scripture. The apostle Paul said, repay no one evil for evil, have regard for good things in the sight of all men. If it is possible, as much as depends on you, live peaceably with all men. Beloved, do not avenge yourself, but rather give place to wrath. For
Mm,
it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord.
yeah.
Therefore, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is
Wow.
thirsty, give him a drink. For in so
Bro.
doing, you will heap coals of fire on his head. Do not be overcome with evil, right? You say this evil that happened to me, this evil that he says, don't be overcome by evil. It can overcome you, but overcome evil with good. And I'm not suggesting that justice shouldn't be served. It will be, God's vengeance will serve justice. There will be justice to every injustice that's ever happened. And this doesn't mean also that we shouldn't fight for the injustices that are happening to people groups and so on and so forth. But we're talking on an individual basis. Leave the vengeance to the Lord. Don't say, I will be satisfied when justice is served. Justice being served may not be the thing that heals you. What may heal you is you serving your enemy.
Whoo, man. Bro, that's so good. That's so good. As a matter of fact, it's so good. I'm going to put that scripture in the comment section so people can read that, because that's got to be okay. So as a disciple of Jesus, we're either going to be obedient to his way and his will,
Hello.
or we're going to do it our way. And his way is what you just read: repay no evil for evil, have
Yes.
regard, right? Don't avenge yourself, or give place to wrath. Don't give vengeance. Feed your enemy if they're hungry. If they're thirsty, give them a drink. Like, that's the way of Jesus. And if we don't, what the Bible declares there is that you'll be overcome by evil. But
That's
if you
it.
do it the Jesus way,
That's it,
you'll overcome the evil with good.
bro.
That's a powerful.
Hey, what about, the thing about it is, how interesting would it be if we would start thinking this way in a larger context of the mission?
Yeah.
I don't know that I know we're up against really up against the clock right now, but what would happen if we would start thinking about this missionally and we say all the evil that's in the world, all the evil that's in the world? What would happen if we started living like people who actually believed, not having unbelief that God's in control, but believing God's in control? Nobody's getting away with anything. But here's the deal. We're going to begin to demonstrate the kingdom where and in ways that are ridiculously extravagant,
Yeah.
living questionable lives. What if rather than saying, you know, that the thing that we need to do is, you know, solely, I'm have a prayer meeting until we bring down all the strongholds in our community, and we're going to pray and break the back of the devil, and we're going to bring down. I know the Bible said the weapons of our warfare, and I know it's we wrestle against spiritual wickedness in high places and so on and so forth, but it's almost like the New Testament church believed Jesus had already overcome all of those principalities. And so our belief allows us to just start exercising that authority that we already have
Yeah.
rather than trying to take a perspective that we need to take authority in those areas. We already
Yeah.
have authority. So exercise your authority and overcome evil with good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%, man. 100%. And now you have a testimony that you're able to relate and connect with people that are, our world is full of angst.
Yep.
I'm about to go to lunch right now, and I guarantee I'll have like 3 people honk at me. Like, they're just so full of angst in our
I
world
know,
today, and
right?
frustrated and angry. But man, God wants to give us a peace, and that's living questionable lives. If we're bitter like everybody else, what's going to make them want what we have? But if we have the
Yeah.
peace of God, and we have, the joy of things that should have destroyed us, but may have made us a
Mm.
better person,
Yeah.
a stronger
You
person. Like,
you present the fruit back to them. They're like, I've got plenty of that fruit, bro. Like you give them the fruit of bitterness, and they're like, yeah, I got plenty of that. But
yeah,
you give them fruit
I don't need any grapefruit. I got plenty of grapefruit.
you give them fruit that they've never tasted. You give them fruit, they're like, oh wait, where'd that come from?
So good. So
Yeah.
good. Well, I think, man, I know we're up against the clock, so I appreciate everybody commenting today, and I know this is such an important topic. do us a favor and just share this out, get this out there, because we need a revival of just healing and the peace of God just to come and overwhelm people that feel like, man, I've been done wrong. I've been hurt. I've been wounded. We get it. We know it. It happens to all of us. But we know that God is faithful. We know that he's good and he's merciful. And it's an opportunity for us to produce the fruit, like you said, Ken, to produce the fruit of the Spirit. So share this, get this out there. Appreciate everybody commenting today, being a part of the conversation. Thank you for that. Check us out, thedillinghamgroup.org. We'd love to connect with you. If you're a pastor wanting to find out about creating a discipleship culture, let us know. We'd love to connect with you. We look forward to coming back to you next Tuesday around 10 o'clock.